You know, if I had a nickel for every time I had a consistent upload schedule only for my computer to randomly give out on me, effectively halting my ability to upload for a long stretch of time,
I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
Hello everyone, my name is Ace, and I am finally back from yet another extended break. For those of you that aren't following me anywhere else, to put a really long story short, my old computer crapped out on me last January, and it made recording videos basically impossible. I had some workarounds for a little while, like streaming directly from my Xbox, but the issue is resolved now, so with any luck, videos will be starting back today. Now, it's been a minute since I played on my original Let's Play world, so rather than picking up from a year-old world, I figured I'd start a new one. Just like last time, here's the data packs I used from Vanilla Tweaks. I got a few new ones this time, and without further ado, let's get going. The short-term goal is pretty similar to last time. We're going to work through the early game and we're going to beat the dragon. But this time around, I've got a lot more planned, and you'll just have to stick around to see what that is. I started as all Minecraft worlds do, punching trees, making stone tools, and digging the obligatory hobbit hole starter base that I make in every single world ever. This time though, I made it a bit smaller than in my last Let's Play. Since I'm not planning to do a lot of enchanting early on, I don't really need space for an enchanting table. This is basically just going to be an overly decorated storage area for the first couple of days. And you can see right here that I was really struggling to get the torches and trapdoors placed correctly. This is my first time using Lightmatica, so I couldn't see literally anything while I was building. And that's just how it went. At this point, I gave up on making a nice looking time-lapse for this build, and I just threw together a roof and a storage area. Then with my starter base done, I headed outside to greet Sunny as they joined the world. It would be a minute before they settled in and with their own base, so while they got to work on the first day basics, I headed out on a little journey to find my main focus for the early game, a village. In my last world, I spent a few hours at a zombie spawner to manually enchant all of my gear, but well, frankly, that just sounds boring, so this time, I'm going straight to villagers. Which is also boring, but at least it's something I only have to work through once. If I ever want backup gear or anything like that, I can just trade with them again in the future instead of having to spend another few hours enchanting. Unfortunately for me, when I did find a village, it was in a desert. Now, there's nothing wrong with desert villages necessarily, but my early game villager areas usually involve 2 things that are a pain to do in the desert. A hobbit hole for the villagers to live in, and a sheep farm, which requires grass. Obviously, I could go find another village, but honestly, this is an opportunity to build something for them instead of just shoving them in a hole. So, as usual, I blocked a few villagers into their homes and got to work gathering some wood from the nearby jungle. So, look, I don't really consider myself to be a good builder by much of any standard, but I've never done a build in a desert before, so frankly, this is gonna be ugly. Also, I don't really have the tools and the infrastructure to get a wide variety of materials yet, so I'm using cobblestone and jungle wood for this. I also decided to give it a birch ceiling because, frankly, I'm not gathering sandstone yet. Also, I did add some smooth stone slabs around the roof, so it's not the worst thing I've ever built. Finally, I set up a small farm for cows and sheep, since I would need both of them for the villagers, namely leather for lecterns and wool for beds. And I made an area to get wood from 2x2 spruce and jungle trees. With all of that set up and ready to go, Sunny and I got to work on getting all of the villagers into their new home. Then it was just a matter of doing this over and over and over. And then also doing this for an even longer amount of time. I hate villagers.
2,000 years later.
In the end, after about 7 hours of work across about 3 days, Sunny and I managed to get all of the villagers we needed for our enchanted books. Also, I ended up getting the villager trade preview mod, which doesn't make it easier necessarily, but it allowed me to see all of the available trades from the get-go. We took turns trading sticks for emeralds and emeralds for glass, lanterns, and arrows until we had enough XP to fully max out our freshly acquired diamond gear. I love doing villagers like first in Minecraft, especially when we have mods to make it faster. But I love doing villagers first because, like, genuinely, neither of us have like ever set foot in a cave beyond like I did a brief. Like, I got like 3 iron from a cave right at the very beginning. Neither of us have set foot in a cave and we already have fully enchanted diamond gear. Real quick, in order. Here is my helmet with Protection 4, Respiration 3, Aqua Affinity, Unbreaking 3, and Mending. My chest plate with Protection 4, Unbreaking 3, and Mending. My leggings with Protection 4, Unbreaking 3, and Mending. And my boots with Protection 4, Feather Falling 4, Depth Strider 3, Unbreaking 3, and Mending. Just like before, their names are just Emberheart to match my branding. Next, my sword, with sharpness 5, sweeping edge 3, looting 3, unbreaking 3, and mending. Its name is Cardinal Edge, referencing a weapon from a story I've been writing. I have 2 pickaxes, one with Fortune 3, Efficiency 5, Unbreaking 3, and Mending, named Apocalypse after a weapon from the same name in Final Fantasy VII, and another with Silk Touch instead of Fortune, named Silk after a character from Fire Emblem Echoes. My shovel has Silk Touch, Efficiency 5, Unbreaking 3, and Mending, and it's named Ace of Spades because my name is Ace. It's not really that complicated. And finally, my axe with Fortune 3, Efficiency 5, Unbreaking 3, and Mending. It's named Heartstone, which is another reference to the story I mentioned before. Also, just a side note here, because of the Timber data pack I have installed, I opted for Fortune over Silk Touch. Silk Touch would get all of the leaves with the wood, and most of the time I'd rather have saplings. With Fortune, not only do I get sticks and saplings, but I get more of them per tree. Now, with all of that out of the way, I got to work on, well, finishing the rest of the game. Our next phase would be prepping for the Nether. I had little fear of either of us dying since our armor is basically as good as it can get pre-Netherite, but there are a few other preparations that I want to make. This was actually my first time ever going into a world completely blind, so I wanted to be able to make the best of our Nether spawn regardless of whatever biome it was. That meant my first order of business was going to be to prep as much gold as I could to trade with piglins, so Sunny and I headed out in search of a cave in the nearby Badlands. We didn't actually find any caves in the Badlands, so we decided to explore a lush cave I had passed by a few times between the villages. The trip was mostly uneventful, but together we managed to gather just under 2 stacks of gold. While we were out, we also visited a jungle temple that Sunny had found earlier. There wasn't much of value inside, but I've never successfully completed the puzzle before. And I still haven't, but it was worth a shot. Lastly, we took a trip to a couple of ruined portals to get any remaining gold that we could. After that, all I needed was obsidian, so... No, we don't need to do that joke again. Okay, fine, just a little. With everything gathered and prepared, we headed back to spawn to build the portal. We picked the spot right outside my hobbit hole, put away our unneeded gear, and went through. Thankfully, RNGesus was kind to us this day, because we spawned in the relatively safe, warped forest. We decided to split up for a bit to find a fortress, but before I had even left render distance, Sunny found one 50 blocks from the portal. I promise I did not chunk base this world. Anyways, we made our way over to the fortress and started pushing through towards the blaze spawner. It was all pretty smooth sailing for a while, at least until...
Oh, poop.
Getting a sense of deja vu here. In the chaos of fighting all the enemies, we did manage to get a decent number of blaze rods, so I decided that we could count that as a victory and get the heck out of there before I took the first death to piglins of all things. Now that we had our blaze rods sorted, the next thing to do was get ender pearls. I let Sunny pick our method, either returning to the nether to find piglins to barter with, or get a cleric villager to trade for pearls. Guess what they picked? Finally! Oh my god. Okay, let's get going on this. And pearls acquired. Alright. With the pearls in hand, I headed back to the base to start getting things prepped for our journey to the end. I had a small list of things I wanted to get before we left, so I left Sunny in charge of preparing the things we'll need post-dragon fight. The most important thing for me to get was pumpkins. Ultimately, that's the thing that makes the Java Dragon fight so much easier for me than the Bedrock one. Obviously, wearing a pumpkin on your head puts this overlay on your screen, which makes it really hard to see what you're doing. On Bedrock, there's not really anything I can do about this, so I just don't bother with a pumpkin usually. But on Java Edition, I've got vanilla tweaks, so I can take off that overlay without obstructing anything else. I also decided I'd stay up every night to grind a bit of gunpowder before we left, just while Sunny was getting things ready on their end. So during the night, I'd run around and fight mobs, and during the day, I'd keep prepping everything else. Another thing I wanted to do was get both of us an ender chest to bring with us to the end. That way we could actually bring all of our stuff for end busting without needing to carry it all in our inventories. For that, I'd need 3 things: blaze rods, ender pearls, and the obsidian. You know what that means, right? And there's 16, cool. I also made a quick trip back to the Nether to get a few more blaze rods. This time, I made sure not to hit any piglins, so I returned with an extra 13 rods. Lastly, I made a few odds and ends like a bed to set our spawn in the stronghold, and a water bucket for Sunny because, for some reason, they never made one on their own. It's probably because they never went caving between their starter house and helping with villagers, but hey, who's counting? Once they had completed their task, Sunny returned to base, and we traded our items. I gave them the chest, water bucket, and pumpkin, and they gave me an Unbreaking 3 mending book, an anvil, and the materials to make rockets. Then, with our ender chests sorted, I crafted up the Eyes of Ender, and we headed off. We did end up passing the stronghold at one point, but it didn't take long to find the right place to dig down, which was on top of a friggin' mountain, by the way. We burrowed our way in, and managed to wander our way to the portal. With spawn set and inventories equipped, I slotted the eyes into the portal, and we hopped through. As soon as we went in, Sunny and I split up and started taking out the healing crystals.
Miss! Miss!
Nice shot!
Miss!
Nice. Nailed it. We managed to blow them all up without too many issues, and then we rushed to the center to take care of Jean herself. All in all, the fight went well, with absolutely no notable losses whatsoever. Okay, so unfortunately we did suffer one casualty through the fight, but Sunny made it back before long, and we finished up the fight together. Now, beating the dragon was nice and all, but it's not like this is our first time. No, Miss Jean wasn't my reason for being here at all. We completely ignored the dragon egg and the portal home, and immediately went for the newly spawned gateway. I took a moment to baby-proof, and by that I mean Sunny-proof, the portal, popped it down a trapdoor, and we went through. After recovering from my near heart attack, I made the spawn platform a bit safer and Sunny came through. We decided to send the more fitting, by which I mean the most death-prone person, to bridge to the island, and then we set out to find the thing we were really after, the city at the end of the game. Well, actually, first I farmed a few ender pearls to have, just in case of emergency, and then we set out. We wandered around for a while, bridging between the islands, but it wasn't long before I started getting bored of tiptoeing across thin bridges, and I decided to test my luck with some pearl throwing. Oh no. Oh! Oh my god! Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, okay, that could have been so much worse. So, back to bridging. It wasn't too long before we found our first end city, though unfortunately it didn't have a ship. Still, we decided to raid it anyways and get our hands on some shulker shells. I also made the executive decision to make a shield, which, in all my years of end busting, I have literally never done. It proved to be a wise choice almost immediately, though. It ended up taking another 30 minutes or so, but eventually we did find a city with a ship right next to another city with another ship. So I'm going to cut in real quick to say that Sunny has never actually gotten an elytra before. Like, normally I get the first elytra and then I'll fly around to get everyone else in the server their elytras. But with two ships within 100 blocks of each other, Sunny and I decided we'd split up and each go get our own elytras. Then we'd meet at their ship and we'll head back home. Worst possible case scenario, Sunny gets backed into a corner and I run over to help them out. So how did that actually go? Exactly as planned. Despite a long struggle and getting a pretty hard to get advancement, I did manage to get onto the ship, and I grabbed my elytra. I immediately took the anvil and enchanted book from my inner chest, slapped Unbreaking and Mending on the elytra, and I named it Icarus. Then I slipped it onto my back and took a moment to really admire my new crimson wings. Finally, I glided over to Sunny's ship and let them do the same. Then we took flight together to make our way home, back through the gateway, then back to the portal. You know, I know this is supposed to be like a big climactic fight and all, but I feel like the vast majority of the time I'm just kind of sitting around waiting for the dragon to perch because I don't have enough arrows. I never have enough arrows in this fight.
I feel like arrows should be a priority for a dragon fight since they can, fly.